sparkling light. Woo! Give it up for them. You are amazing and wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, once again, show them our love. Show them our love. Well, as I had mentioned before, we have dived right into January, haven't we? Happy New Year. Woo is right. I can feel the excitement in the air. And since we're back to basics, I like to do back to basics with a little twist, as you saw last week. So our little twist this morning is super exciting because there is no better way to talk about the way it works than to have our graduating class of our Beyond Limits class present their final projects, which completely and totally explains the way it works. So that's what we have in store for you this morning. I wanted to do just a little brief intro for them, and then I'm going to give up the floor to them. And so what we have is when they presented their final projects on our last night of class, it was just awesome. One right after the other. Boom, boom, boom. Incredible, spectacular, magnificent ways of the divine expressing through each one of these beautiful beings that we have here in this class. And from that, I said, guys and gals, this is the perfect explanation of the way it works. And on the 2nd January of the month, we're going back to basics. Would you guys present? And they said, yeah. So I said, what do we want the title of the talk to be? So they got together, they huddled, and they came up with don't you love it when you're on and then all of a sudden your mind just blanks? So what they came up with was our limitless journey. And there's a reason for that. Because each one of them are going to share their unique individualized expression of the divine, of their limitless experience. And they wanted journey to be singular, not plural. Because this is what they said. They said, even though we're all experiencing the thing itself in our own divine way, in our own special, unique, individualized way, we know and learned fully in this class that we're all connected. And as we're experiencing and expressing this divine spirit individually, we're influencing and affecting everybody. And so it really is one big journey that we're all taking in a limitless way. And so, not all of our members are here today and are able to present. So we're going to have just what do I want to say? We're giving just a little offering of our graduating class of Beyond Limits. And the first one I'm going to present at the request of our first classmate, Greg Stephen. He's sitting right up here in the front row, so you can give him applause in a second, or now, whatever. But what we have up here, and I wanted to just say that everything on this table, there's a meaning for that. And everything that you see out today, there's a meaning for that and a reason for that. But this is Greg's final project, and he's asked me to present for him. It is so cool. It is way cool. So I'm going to read to you his words, because I don't want to put words in his mouth, and then I'm going to say a little something. So what the picture basically means to Greg is that when he looks at this, he's filled with and surrounded by and is one with spirit. And the other arm signifies that he's not alone and that we are all joined together by and in the light. And that's capital L for light. And all around him is abundance, and he is in control of his experience and his life. Can you all see that? So he's got the creative process in the middle of the light that's illuminating the body of the person of spirit, law, and form. And down at the bottom, I love it, he's got I am in charge. Who's in charge? We are. So what a beautiful project. What a beautiful expression. So thank you, Greg. It's wonderful. And so next up is Tom.
Do you have the mic?
Yes. It's right here. do a little dance. Okay. It's right here. Yeah, I said it would be in the chair, and it wasn't. So come up.
Thank you. Okay, my intention, when I started out the class, I had an intention. And it was to get in touch with my life purpose. And the thing in the class that helped me a lot was we learned a lot about forgiveness, and that helped to kind of set me on my path. That the message in the middle here is through forgiveness, love, thankfulness, unity, and friendship, we can achieve our life purpose, and we can know heaven on earth. So you're holding it up for us? Yeah. So here we have dreams that turn to manifestation, and up above there's divine guidance, friendship, love, and divine guidance, and then this represents heaven on earth. Thank you. Very good. No, that's everything. All right, and who's next?
Okay. All right, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. For those of you who don't know me, my name's, I'm sorry? Project, okay. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Carol Albro, and I attended the class Beyond Limits, and I loved it. I attended the class before at another center about 10 years ago. So my intention here really was about renewal and coming back into what I discovered 10 years ago. So if you'll move to the next slide. Thank you. So for me, because it was something I've practiced for a long time and I kind of lost touch with it for a little while and came back to this center and to that class and re-entered it, I felt like the timeline was really important. So in my life, I have always felt that I was born this way. I'll tell a little story. What went along with my PowerPoint presentation was a series of stories, and I'm not used to speaking with a hand mic, was a series of stories that kind of told the story of my spiritual journey or my journey line through life, right? And the first one is about snow, but I'll start with the timeline first and then we'll get to that. I was born this way from the time I can remember. I argued religion. My mother, just to let you know, was religious about religion, okay? And we were very Southern Baptists. And we went to church at least 3 days a week for some reason or another. And I argued the points that the pastor would make during sermon, right, with my mother on a regular basis, usually in the car, definitely not with my father there, ever, but in the car when she was a captured audience. She couldn't get away from me. And I had to ask, you know, why would God kill his son? These are very controversial questions for a 7-year-old or a 6-year-old to be asking their mom. But I was born this way. This is how I must have believed before I was here. So to go on, you know, I guess I got through that. It was always my fallback in my life. This way of life, this way of thinking. When I was in a situation once, walking through snow, trying to get home. I was a teenager, I was in 8th grade, and it was blizzarding outside, and there were no cars on the roads. There was certainly no cell phones, I'm that old, and no way to contact anyone. And I didn't really know if I was gonna make it home. And that was my fallback. I just closed my eyes, and I looked down, and I said, all right, just one step in front of the other, and, you know, Spirit, if you'll just let me take that next step, and then that next step, until I walked into my parents' house. I ignored the pain, the cold, the fear, and the worry, and just kept asking for that next step. And I got there. I had peaks and valleys in my life, and they were always, those peaks were always brought back because I had a realization of where I was going and where I was headed and where I wanted to go. and I pulled myself back up through this process. But it was all very innate. I hadn't been to a class yet. I hadn't discovered a center yet. And then I got lost for the first time. And boy, my husband and I, we were just completely lost. We lost everything except for each other and our son. And we really thought our world was coming to an end. But through that's when I first found the very first center that I went to. And through the glory of understanding that creative process, through the help of the people in that center, of the minister in that center, we learned how to pull ourselves up in a way that we could have never imagined. And not only did we end up gaining more than we had ever had, we gained another child on top of it. And another child was something I'd always wanted, and it just never had come until we were both unemployed, right? So we were lost for the first time, but we were restored through this process, but it became very tangible for the first time, like we truly understood what the process was. And then we were almost lost again. As I backed off of the church a little bit, I wasn't going as often, and I was kind of living my own world. I stopped my daily meditation. I stopped hanging out with people who were my like-mindedness, the ones that kept you lifted up even on those gloomy days, right? And that's when my friend Cindy and I found this center. And honestly, it was Cindy who was helping, we need to find a church, and I just went along for the ride, and here we are, right? But it's been a blessing. So the story, like I said, I handed in a series of probably, 12 short stories that kind of go over each of these areas. And the story that I'm going to tell to you today was the one that taught me what manifestation was. When I was 8 years old, and I had one of those arguments with my mother in the car about religion, she finally said to me, "Carol, just pick something, pray for something. I don't care what it is, just pray for something so I can prove this to you, that what we go to church for every Sunday is valuable." I said, "Okay, I'll pray for something." She says, "I'll pray for something too." But she never told me what she was praying for. And I never told her. And my sisters were responsible for every evening. They're 9 and 13 years older than me. And so my sister Denise was usually the person who kneeled with me by my bedside, hands in prayer form, and prayed with me every night. And she knew I was praying for snow. But my mom didn't know I was praying for snow. But I figured if we lived in Houston, Texas, and God was perfect, and he could do anything, then he could make it snow in Houston. And that's all I wanted, was snow. And I finally admitted to my mother that I was praying for snow, and complete shock. "Carol, you cannot control the weather through God. It's not fair, it's not possible. There's so many other things to pray for, and it's not going to snow in Houston. We're too close to the equator. There was 100 reasons why I shouldn't pray for snow. I don't care. If he's perfect, if he's capable of anything, he can make it snow in Houston," right? And it took about 6 to 9 months, but one morning I woke up, and I knew I was late for school. It was too bright outside for me to still be in bed, so something happened, and I got up and I ran to the window, and there was snow on the ground. There wasn't very much. They called school off. There was grass peeking through the snow. There was nothing on the roads. It was just wet, But there was snow on the ground. You couldn't have even made a snowball out of the snow. It was so little. But there was snow on the ground in Houston. And I went downstairs. My sister came in my room first. She says, "Carol, it snowed." I said, "I know. I made that happen." And and I went downstairs and I said to my mom, "I guess he listens to me more than he listens to you." And so it was a little competition. What I didn't know is that I was born with a birth defect. And because of that birth defect, I could not, it's a little bit embarrassing, but I could not be potty trained. And so I had a lot of trouble with this. There was a lot of teasing. I was made fun of a lot, right? She had prayed for a solution to that. And my father had been uprooted my father's job had changed from San Antonio to Houston, so we were uprooted to Houston, and we found this doctor there who was able to fix my situation. And to make a very long story very short, then his job changed to Colorado Springs. And the great thing about that was I got to be around snow, and I moved to a whole new area where nobody knew me as that person who couldn't hold their bladder, right? So I got to be a brand new person, and I got to live in snow. So that's my story. I didn't go through the rest of my slides, but so if you'll just skip to the last slide. The others were just summaries of the other stories that I told in the hand-in that I gave Julie. But I think what I really got out of this course was the longevity. I know what I need to do now, no matter what. I have to have my daily meditations. That's what I have to do in order to stay a part of this process. And I have to be here on a frequent basis to be a part of these people, to have these like-minded people to remind me about the process, to remind me where I am and my importance and my value in this life. And that my journey is not just my journey. It's a journey that I take with everybody that I bump into. And we're all connected, and every decision I make has a ripple effect on everyone around me. And that's what I learned from this class. Thank you.
Now you can see why I just glow because of these incredible classmates that I get to be with during the semesters. So if you'll go to Cindy's presentation, another incredible presentation that we have for you today. Cindy's asked for me to present it for her, but she is here, so we'll be able to give her all the accolades. And what I'm going to do, and that needs to go up to the first page. Thanks. So Cindy's presentation was really awesome. She told us the story that she was really drawn and felt like she needed to present what she got out of the class through poetry. And she went into prayer, meditation, and she was divinely guided to do it through haikus. Are you all familiar with haiku poetry? And it's just incredible. It's just incredible what she's done. Because if you'll go to the next slide, what she has done is she has created haikus in the form of an affirmative prayer treatment. And so the first one here is consciousness. Omniscient Spirit, God is peace, love, light, and life, imponderable. Next slide. Coalescence. I am one with God. I am perfect as I am. Pray and meditate. Realization. I affirm. I trust. Thoughts create experience. Living my best life. Gratitude. Thank you. A new day. For a life full of blessings, challenges to learn. Release. Give it up to God. I receive all that I need. Yes, and so it is. Cindy, would you stand, please? It's a beautiful project and a beautiful expression of her unique self, of what she got out of the class. And so our next presenter is Cindy as well. Cindy Stevens. Steven.
I made you all a little gift, a little bookmark. They're passing out. I've told you before that we found this center about 8 months ago, and it has been so important to me and my husband. And so this journey, like Carol said, I think I was born this way, but I just didn't know exactly how to think about it. So taking this class was just indescribable. I've learned so much in our time in the Beyond Limits class. One of the things I've learned is about being grateful. That was one of the important points. I can't even tell you all of the points, all of the things I've learned. There's so many, but being grateful was a big one. And I'm really grateful to all the other classmates in the class. It was so wonderful getting to know each and every one of them and sharing our lives and experiences with each other. And also I'm grateful for Reverend Julie. She's a wonderful teacher and such an inspiration to everyone. And I think what stood out the most and had the biggest impact on me was what we learned about forgiveness, the forgiveness of others, and forgiving ourselves. We also learned that the universe always says yes to us, and we just need to be patient and thoughtful of what we want and what we're asking for. And our attitudes and our intentions and our perspectives affect what happens in our lives, and sometimes we have to change the way we think to change the path that our life takes. And that is really important to me, and I have to remind myself of that every day. And that idea of change is what inspired me to write this poem for my project. Let's all emerge as butterflies, anxiety be gone. Unfurl on wings our inner selves, unfolding like the dawn. Our cocoons we cast aside, the struggle kept in mind. It is no simple task to leave old attitudes behind. The time to try our wings has come, so graceful, light, and free. At last we're soaring far above what we used to be. Oh, thank you. And I painted this silk scarf to go along with that. It just has some of the words, abundance and what else? Love, peace. It just has some words on there that were part of what we learned. So I just made that to go along with my theme, kind of. So, thank you.
Well, our final presenter today barely needs an introduction, but he definitely has a very special place in my heart. So welcome my husband, Tony Lobato.
Good morning. It's so nice to see everybody, all these smiling faces. Was asked to just give a brief introduction to my project. I hold very dear the role of nature and what I've learned in the class. Combining those two is how I went about my final project. I know we are all one. We are all one with spirit. We are one with each other. There is one energy in this universe, and it's all interconnected. And I had no idea of what Reverend Julie was going to do for the reading this morning, but it perfectly works into the presentation that's coming up. Just wanted to let you know that it was a joy to be in this class. It's the first class I've ever taken with Centers for Spiritual Living, and it opened my eyes to the potential that not only is there for me, but for everybody that's here. Everybody that's looking at me and hearing my voice, I strongly encourage everyone, take a class, just one. You'll find out for yourself if it's for you, if it's not for you. But I totally encourage you, just try it. Try it on. You'll love it. Eric, if you want to go for the slides here. It was so much fun doing that. The music by Denise Rozier, her album One Heart, is nominated for several awards at the upcoming POSI Awards for Positive Music Awards for New Thought Music next month in February in Tampa this year. So I love that album, and that song just kind of spoke to me to coincide with the photos that I had up there. So yes, those all are my photos that I took, mostly in the last year. And just a FYI, most of them were taken with my camera, or with my phone. So, yeah. Had a lot of fun doing it, had a lot of fun with the class, bonded with the classmates. I think it was extraordinary how we all kind of came together as like a little family, more or less. So, like I said before, please consider joining a class sometime while you're here. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So that was wonderful, wasn't it? I sure loved it, yeah. And, I didn't know what any of the projects were going to be until they were shared on our last class. I didn't even know what Tony was going to be, and it just brought me to tears because, of course, I was present for most of those photos that were up there on the PowerPoint side, and one of them in particular brought me to tears. Do you remember the photo of the mushroom pushing up the rock? That photo was taken, I'm trying to remember the date. It was on your, what date was it? No? I can't believe I can't remember the date, but anyway, September in 2013. And it was a Wednesday, and my husband and I both took the day off of work because it was a very special day. And we both took the day off work and went up into the mountains to a very special spot of mine so I could sit in prayer all day long. And that picture was taken of the mushroom pushing up from the rock because that was the day that the Center for Spiritual Living Castle Rock was meeting to decide on their next senior minister. And that picture means a lot to me because that's why we took the day off and sat in prayer and meditation, and I received the phone call that evening as we were driving down the mountain. So it really moved me a great deal. And I wanted to share that with you. So incredibly blessed. This is an amazing community filled with love and light, and you guys really know how to apply the way it works. So, hands off.